www.MVRemix.com.
Because otherwise you get a little too paranoid if you're always thinking about a conspiracy. Oh, I know. That's fine, but that's real life. That's you're not making that shit up. So if you're gonna make stuff up, you should make
make stuff up. Stuff up that makes you happy. Yeah.
Exactly.
Alright, so basically the interview is going to be for a site called MVRemix. MVRemix stands for the Melancholy Vibe Remix.
Okay.
Which basically means nothing. If you have a melancholy vibe, it's a depressive vibe and not that great. You're not sure what's going on. You remix it, you've got infinite possibilities. And that's kind of the title for the site. The site at the moment predominantly covers hip hop and other urban music. We've interviewed everyone from Snoop Dogg to Chuck D, some of the biggest names, but we're branching out into other genres of urban music. We've got, the last person we interviewed was DJ Craze, who's big on drum and bass and whatnot, and now we're expanding to Röyksopp.
Hey.
So,
Okay, good.
now, I first heard of you.
Just a quick thing. Are you using this for the the site, or is it just for your?
Oh, it's just for me to transfer.
Okay, yeah, okay, good. So I don't need to be up here. I can be here. Okay, good.
The first time I heard your music was probably about 3 months ago when I went back to the UK for the first time. A friend of mine pulled out your CD and he got to remind me, and he said, I love this track, it always makes me happy, I love the beat to death. Now, when you make a track, do you have in mind to create a certain emotion, or do you just try and create the track and whatever people get from it, they get from it?
We don't have names for these things that we create. If it is, it would be a sort of very secretive language between us, which is basically made up by gestures and grunting noises. And the feedback that we've had from people is so diverse that we realized that it's impossible for us to actually go out and say what the songs are about. Basically because it's so down to interpretation. We've heard so many different things said about our music. Some people says that it's very arctic and some people say it's very clinical music. Other people say it's very organic. Some people say this is music to go to sleep to, when other ones say that it's nice to get jiggy. It's basically very much down to a single person, what you get out of it. And we don't dictate anything.
Okay. Now I've often wanted to create similar sorts of music myself, but I've never been able to have access to the equipment or whatnot. How is it that you came to be able to create these beats, create this music? How did you manage to get access to the machinery?
On a physical sense.
Yeah.
It was
Steel, rock, and love. Oh, but there is when we started out in the late 80s, and that sounded very back in the days. But we've had a keen interest in keyboards and electronic music since we were quite small kids. And I would say then to make it a bit more, well, late 80s, early 90s, we tended to, we were like 14, 15 at that point, and we didn't really have any money. It was back in Norway, in Tromsø, which is the city that we grew up in. It was me, Torbjorn, and 2 other friends. And in order to obtain the keyboards and so on that we wanted, we thought of this good trick. There was only 3 music stores in Tromsø at that point. We would go into these different music stores, and we would go in and we would pretend to be wanting to buy gear. And one of our friends, he was a really tall guy. He was also 15 at this point. He had a proper beard growth, and he was like 2 meters tall, and he was quite shy as well, whereas me, Torbjorn, and this third guy was quite outgoing and quite eager, and which most kids are at that age, quite sort of lots of hormones running wild in your body. He was a bit shy, and he would be sort of waiting in the door, and the guy behind the counter, when we approached him, said, well, we are interested in this keyboard. He would look at us, and then he would look at us, at our friend, who then appeared to be like an elderly guy, or like a grown-up. obtain one, easier to get, which also helps you a bit. So yeah.
Did you have any formal teaching about chord progression and things like that, or did you just learn it all by experimentation?
In my case, we learned a bit in school, but that wasn't much. And apart from that, it's whatever I might know is autodidactic. So.
Have you experimented much with drugs, and if so, do you feel they help your creativity?
Well, I personally always find that a very hard question to answer, because answering that very often can exclude people. If you say, yes, I've done a lot, some people might go, oh, I don't know. And if you say, no, I've never done it, other people will go, oh, it's not that interesting. So I just find it very hard to answer that question in a good political way, other than what I just did now.
Yeah.
So I just sort of sit like this.
Do you still feel that, or do you feel that there's still a drug culture associated with the types of music which you do, or has that kind of dwindled down?
I think that the drug relation is probably stronger has moved on to the more dance floor oriented stuff, or at least some of the more synthetic harder drugs like ecstasy and so on. It's more related to trance music and that kind of stuff, and also club culture in terms of more hard hitting. I don't know what to say about that. There is definitely a link to the more chill stuff and the likes of weed and so on. I don't know whether it's going up or down, or from a Norwegian
this
point.
is something that I personally don't reflect much upon.
Yeah, no, that's probably the best way to put it. It's, in Norwegian, from a Norwegian point of view, I see that it's more now than it was like 5 years ago. It's more accepted that there's definitely a bigger acceptance in terms of drugs and so on. That's another thing I see.
If I'm coming to a Röyksopp show, what am I going to experience that I won't experience from simply listening to your music on CD?
First and foremost, you'll actually see us,
Okay.
and you'll watch us perform. We'll do a bit of we'll play some keyboards, analog synthesizers, as well as samples that we trigger. We'll play a bit of electronic percussion, and we have another guy who is the one who plays bass on the track called A Higher Place on the album, and he's with us playing bass on quite a few tracks. And as an overall, we get the impression that people find what we're doing live much more energetic, and simply that's the natural way for us to actually connect with the audience, to be energetic about what you do and have fun on stage. If we manage to do that, that's almost always a good gig. But if we feel that everything is wrong, we'll probably just stand there and be more shy about what we do, and then we don't get the response.
I think
which is
I think I might be as daring to say that as a live thing we're a bit more blunt and a bit less subtle, probably a bit more in your face and sort of energetic and up tempo. It's definitely live in a greater in some way.
Are you working currently, I know you probably have plans to, but are you currently working on a follow-up to Melody? And are there any other remixes or guest appearances that you've been involved in that have yet to surface, that have yet to be released?
We are making music sort of almost constantly, or as whenever we have time, but not necessarily for the sake of a second album, just more for the sake of making music. It's just one of those things we do. And at some point when we feel that the time is right and we feel comfortable enough, we'll probably make the second album. But as of now, we are making music for the sake of making music and not for the sort of second album thing. Remixes and so on, we are also doing and have done some remixes for other people,
Yeah.
and there's still offers sort of popping up every now and then. So there might come some in the future, and also production for other people. We haven't really decided which ones to do yet. Yeah.
Is how likely is it that the Coldplay remix is going to surface?
I do not know actually, because I think we have spent a bit too far with that one. I guess it just remains to see what happens. We might have gone a bit too far.
Some types of beats and also some types of approach to music. You know, many DJs feel they have an educative aspect as well as an entertaining aspect, and I think that we might just have gone a bit too far with our educative aspect of that mix, and a bit too low on the entertaining aspect. That's what happens sometimes when you become what we call up your own.
Yeah. Are there, because we're kind of pushed for time, I'm wondering, are there any last words or comments that you'd like to put to your fans or potential fans that are going to be reading this?
Yes. Let the past be what it is, and let the present move forward into the future.
Okay.
That's really good. Saying something without actually saying it. No, I didn't mean that. That's not anything that we want you to print. Okay.
No, I don't know what to say. Stay focused.
Be unexpectedly kind to someone at least once a day.
And yourself.